Monty Dutton, Justin Gazette. Brad, early in the race, you were right there when the big wreck happened.
Yes.
And it looked like it began when Regan Smith with I'm trying to think. Anyway, you were right behind it. It looked like everybody slowed down, but maybe the reason you got through it was because of the fact that you were so close to it that you got through before the pileup happened. Yeah. Is there anything you did, or was it just a lucky break?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Last spring I think we had a car that was really, really competitive, and we qualified not so well. And there was a wreck very similar to this early in the race, and we got in it. Monty, and it ruined our day. I think we lost 3 laps. Ended up getting them all back. That shows you how fast our car was. Ended up getting them all back with about 20 to go, and just was too little too late. But so, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is it's happened to us before. And I certainly share the frustrations of those involved. We were very fortunate to get through it. There's something about this spring race where it's early in the year, and I think a lot of guys got something to prove, and they maybe take a little more chances early in the race, and I think that's kind of how I felt about it. But we were very fortunate to get through, and I know we dodged a bullet there, and my team helped me dodge a bullet by repairing the little bit of damage there was.
Let's come downstairs now. We'll go to Jeff, David, and then we'll take others. Go ahead, Jeff.
Jeff Gluck from SBNation.com. It seems like sometimes when drivers start out winning, they maybe win on one type of track first. Like somebody might win on a few mile and a halves and then kind of expand their repertoire, I guess. You've won at places like Pocono. You've won at a mile and a half, restrictor plate track, short track. How do you explain your ability to win on all these different types of tracks so early in your career?
Well, I think I'm trying to figure out how to answer this that makes sense to you. But the things that the media and some of the fans rip you apart on is what's defined and built my career. And for me, I was very fortunate, and I know I was very fortunate when I got the ride to drive for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the Nationwide Series. And I spent 2 seasons in that series as a partial Cup competitor and full-time Nationwide competitor. During that time span, I was very fortunate to race with some of the best. And I don't think we've seen a system that's existed like that in decades past. I mean, we saw Mark Martin run, obviously, in the 90s. But I go back to my first Nationwide start for Dale. It was in Chicago, I believe. And to this day, I think that race still has the record for the most amount of Cup drivers. It was something like 26, 25. I can't remember what it was. But that's what I had to do to build my career. I mean, I had to go against the Cup drivers when I was still trying to figure out how to run Nationwide. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is it obviously frustrates me a little bit when I take some heat, or any Cup driver takes some heat from the press, media, fans, whatever, about running the Nationwide Series, because it's really a character builder. If you can run well over there, Jeff, you can come here and get the job done. And that series helped me build a lot of character. It helped me learn in a smaller spotlight. And I feel like when I got over here that the learning process was a lot quicker. And it just came down to getting with the right team that I gelled with and that believed in me. And that took a little bit of time for sure. But I think now that we have it, I have the experience base to run competitively on almost every style of racetrack. And I was able to learn that, I don't want to say in obscurity, but in a time and place where it was acceptable to make mistakes, which is what the Nationwide side was for me. So I know that was maybe a little bit longer answer than what you were looking for, but what I'm trying to say is that the training and the lower level series of NASCAR and the way they're structured right now certainly helped me when I got to this level to be perhaps more prepared than many drivers in the past.
David, and then Jim. Go ahead, David.
David Caravella, NASCAR.com. Brad, kind of the flip side of that, you're obviously good here. You've got several short track wins in the Nationwide Series. Can you just speak to your general comfort level on short tracks? And were you one of those guys in the upper Midwest who raced late models on all the short tracks up there? And where did it come from?
You know, I never considered myself a great short track driver. What there was for me was the tracks that I ran. This was really important to me and to my dad, and he taught me this very early on. Was that it was important not to be a one-track jack. And growing up, I got my ass kicked in late models. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I got it kicked pretty hard, and you know, to kind of further that point, my dad made me travel around a lot and not stay at the one place and become that one-track jack. And when you go to all these places, my dad used to say that you could take Jeff Gordon to some local racetrack and he'd probably get beat by the local guy because he knows the place so well. And I think he's right. But it also helped me build up a little bit of that base, like Jeff was asking about earlier, to where when I got to a touring series like NASCAR, I was more prepared. But specifically Bristol, there's this track I raced growing up in Ohio, Toledo, Ohio. I ran this super late model, and it was a half-mile track. Medium bank, not quite as high as Bristol, but I ran this really fast super late model division. And we ran around that place in 15 seconds. And to me, the first lap on this racetrack I ever took felt just like I was in that late model car in Toledo, Ohio. And that made me really, really comfortable here from day one. So whether it was my first truck race or first nationwide race or cup race here, I've always felt very comfortable here and picked up a feel for it very quickly that I think has enabled Paul or given Paul the direction he needs to make the right adjustments. And so we're both good here. So the car, team, driver, everything is exceedingly well, and I think that's part of our success.
What track was that?
It's Toledo, yeah, we just called Toledo, yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. Brad, when the last caution came out right before then, you had been working extremely hard to stay in front of Matt, and you seemed to have some, you were questioning what would be the right call under the caution. And then after all that, you elected to stay out, which seemed similar to what Elliott Sadler's team decided yesterday. But then you kind of took off on the last restart, and it wasn't and put a good deal of space between you and Matt. Were you surprised by that part of it, or the last run?
No, not at all. Matt Kenseth is the best long-run racer in Cup. I'll just go ahead and say that. There's not a question in my mind. I've had a year or two now in Cup to kind of evaluate some of the drivers, and I was not very comfortable that we were going to be able to win with. I mean, I didn't feel bad about it, but I was maybe 50-50 that I was going to be able to pull off a win with him behind me, with a very, very long run to finish the race. So, that being said, I knew that when the caution came out, as long as I could beat him on the first lap, that I had a good enough car, and I felt like I was a good enough driver to drive away.
Steve
Go ahead,
Richards
Steve.
of PRN. Brad, when you first saw Bristol, what did you think of this place when you first saw it, and then when did things finally click for you here?
I thought, man, that's a lot of people, and that's a really big hill, because I was really young, and climbed up the grandstands and snuck in and watched the race. I hope the track got back the ticket fee that I cut them out on, but it was good. I don't think that fence is around anymore that I snuck in, just in case somebody gets ideas. But
When was that?
That was 95. Yeah, I remember there used to be that, was it the press box that was in turn one? Yeah, somebody here has been around long. I remember that. That was really cool. But, as far as the first time I got comfortable here, first race, it just, I don't know, something about this place I really liked.
Go ahead, Dustin.
Dustin Long at SI.com. You were talking about the way your dad prepared you with not being a one-track jack. a lot of times teenagers don't think their parents know it all. So, knowing what I know, how much did you?
Well, my uncle
resist
was
that?
involved too, so why don't I just go ahead and put that out there? And I'm sure mom was involved.
How much of a challenge was? I
Maybe
mean,
a couple
it certainly at an early age, trophies are very rewarding, and a lot of people go for that. To look at the big picture, not many 16, 17, 18-year-olds are willing to take a look at that or think that they need to look in that way. How did you get through that stage of saying, my family knows best?
Well, they didn't give me a lot of choices. If you met my dad and uncle, you'd understand that. But, it can be frustrating. When I was running late models, I would not have called myself a dominant driver by any means. And I didn't get to run with the frequency that I would have liked to have. But I was learning more on the car side and approach than anything else, spending the time with my dad, who's, to me, one of the smartest racers there ever was. And so I learned a lot from him. More so on the approach side than maybe the driving side. I guess that makes any sense. The approach as far as what your car needs to be better and how to learn from it, more so than, hey, you need to be in this gear or drive this line, because I wasn't very good at listening to him about that kind of stuff. But I don't know, he's just a really good teacher, and I felt very lucky to have both him and my uncle along the way.